had the opportunity to work at ALU last year, just around this time. I was there. And I went there for about 10 weeks to understand the admission process. Actually, I was just brought to work with the admissions team. But after I got there, we realized that the admission process was a bit problematic. It had too many problems. And so ALU wanted to redesign their admission process. And because I really like design, I jumped on that project. So I was like the lead on the project to redesign the application process. And ALU, so just a brief introduction about the school. African Leadership University is a university that's trying to train over 3 million young leaders over the next 50 years. About 3 million young leaders, because they think that Africa cannot be left in the hands of just anybody. Because, you know, if a leader gets into power, he has a lot of power, much more power than the US president, according to Fred Swanecker. Because the moment he makes a change, it is enacted. Like, there are no real checks and balances. So he believes that we have to train leaders to be able to occupy these positions, right? And so then he started African Leadership University. And right now, they've opened another campus at Rwanda. So if you know anyone who is looking at becoming a change maker, I think ALU is a good place to go. So why the whole research? First of all, there were huge numbers actually started filling. Let me just read it. So huge number of people started filling the forms, but then they'll stop. I don't have permission to disclose the data, but then thousands of people would start the application process and stop in the middle, and just a little percentage finish. And we realized that it was a complex application process. Also, we also noticed that they were not given, the application doesn't give the students enough reason to finish because it's a new school. It started just 2 years ago. Meanwhile, on the back end, as in what was going on in the company, right? The admissions associates had to deal with so many questions, right? Then decisions were sometimes very difficult to make because you can't actually tell if this person meets the criteria, right, of an ALU student. Also, there were questions about who the ideal ALU student is. So who are we looking for if we say we are opening up applications? What's the description of this student we are looking for? And then also be wanted to determine if those students applying were actually authentic. Because I can actually apply to any school and say that I did this and that. I did this kind of social impact, but there's nothing to prove, right? And so we started to do stakeholder analysis. And we can go into a more complex stakeholder analysis, but I just kept it like this for the purposes of those who are new to this. So internal and external stakeholders, we just thought that we could categorize all those outside the school and interact with ALU as external, and all those inside as internal. So you can see that the parents, guardians, and high school students are all external stakeholders, whilst the internal stakeholders consists of the dean of students, could be the admissions team, which also sort of interact with the whole process, as well as students enrolled in the school already. And the way design thinking works is always very good to empathize with all stakeholders so that there are no loopholes, you understand. But for this research, we focus on two groups. Basically, we focus on students who are coming into the school, as well as their parents, right? And then we also focused on the admissions team and how they work. So this is the kind of research we did. We actually called the students who applied to ALU, and we had various groups. Those who applied and didn't get in, those who have applied and have gotten in, and those who started but haven't finished. And we did 300 calls in all. And we also did a survey because, surveys are not the best ways of doing research, but we did it because it's an international school. So most of the students don't actually come from Mauritius. They come from all over Africa. And we started to actually do analysis. So this is the beginning of the analysis. We used empathy maps. I don't know if you're if you know this so much, but it's just a framework that empathizes with the user. It's one of the basic frameworks you could use to understand who the user is. And for this framework, we found it very useful for the admissions team members. And so we did interviews with them, and then they would speak up about how they think. So whatever they think, we put it in the red section. Whatever they keep on hearing, we put it in the black section. Whatever they keep seeing, we put it in the yellow section. And whatever they say or do, we put it in this green section. Meanwhile, we are doing analysis on their pain and gain points. That way you understand really how they're feeling and what is beneficial and what is not, what is problematic and what is not. So that is how we started doing the analysis. And the insight we drew was that the process was not interactive enough. So because the process is not interactive, they have to reach out to someone to ask questions, right? And so too many questions were coming through. And also the process was not straightforward enough. Hence, students had so many questions, you know, because it just wasn't straightforward. I think that's straightforward. Yeah. So, wow. It's not supposed to be here. I'm coming. 1 second, please. Yeah. It's not working. It's skipping something, so hold on, please. Okay, I'll just mix it up. So the next thing we did was to analyze their journeys. This is a journey map, and journey maps can be used in any way you want to. You can just redesign yours, honestly. So what we were doing was so this is a journey map online. This is an actual template online. So we just put the stages in which the person goes through on this side, as well as some other analysis going on here. So this is like the touch points. And then this is, can't read. But most of the time, this is how they think or feel, or the kind of things they are doing, right? And so here you can also understand how the user actually feels whilst they go through the whole process. And so we were analyzing each part, and these are the kind of things we were asking when we were doing the calls, right? The insights we got from this particular framework was that the applicants need a reason to finish the application. So we need to give the applicants a value, even as they're going through the application process. And then we also realized that the applicant needs value for every part of the application process. Also, it has to be straightforward as much as possible. Yeah. We also did mind maps. And for mind maps, it was actually my first time, ever since I was introduced to this, I had no idea how I would use it until I was faced with a problem. So the way I think design thinking works too is that you first have to really understand the frameworks. When you do and you're going through the process, you know what to use for what. It just happens that, oh, this will work for this. So let's put it in that framework, right? So we wanted to frame really the connection between the students coming in as well as the students already in the school. So are we looking out for students who already have a little of the qualities that ALU offers, or there should be a disconnect and it doesn't matter? Well, it so happens that when we did the persona research, let me skip to that, we realized that everybody wants someone who's like 19 years old. This was from research from the company. Someone who's like 19 years old and from some parts of Africa, so Tanzania. He believes in innovation and software that can disrupt in the continent to make Africa great again. So these are the kind of students they're looking out for. People who actually believe that Africa can rise, or people who believe in problem solving, and so many other things. But this is just like a brief of a whole persona. And so we went back to do the mind maps. We went back to do the mind maps, and basically what we did was to map out the kind of rubric we have already, as well as the kind of things that are taught in the school. And the school has a framework. They call it the 7 meta skills. So that's this thing that you've been seeing. And the 7 meta skills is how they teach. And it's basically divided into 7. They want you to lead others, lead self, have entrepreneurial thinking, critical thinking skills, quantitative reasoning, communication for impact, and managing complex tasks. However, we realized that the admissions process, the current one, didn't have a direct connection because they didn't think that they should have a direct connection when they were doing it at first. Well, we realized that what the school actually wants is people who have a few of these and want to develop the rest to actually transform the continent. And so then we decided to start mapping out the rubric. We decided to start mapping what part of the rubric connects to this and what part is left. So that was that kind of analysis we did. We realized that the admissions team needs a way to identify passion-driven, disruptive, and high leadership potential during selection process because this is what the school is about. So this is a point of view. And this is the part of design thinking where we actually define what we are doing. And so then we are like in the middle of everything. But the rest gets very interesting because then we start to ideate. What kind of ideas can we come up with to cause all these insights and point of view to actually work out holistically? And so we are putting things together. A technique for ideating is asking how might we questions. So I just put up a few, but there were so many that we came up with at the time we're doing the research. So I'll just go through 3 or 4. So how might we create value for students? Sorry, I left that. For students while they go through their application. Actually, I haven't yet taken an application process whereby I'm gaining something from it. Usually because I really want to go to that place, it just takes from me, and I'm hoping that they get back to me. So then the next one was how might we incorporate the value the school offers in the application process, which is like the 7 meta skills I was talking about. Wow. And then how might we streamline our processes to cut down workload? This is a how might we for the people who are working at ALU. And then how might we just know that this is a potential leader? So these were the kind of how might we questions that we came up with. So as you ask these questions, ideas come up and then you just put them down. So we had a couple of ideas I'll share with you. This idea was to create an app for anybody who wants to start the application process. So you like go online and download ALU app to apply. And yeah, I remember when I was saying this, they all thought I was crazy. Like how can you put an application in an application, you know? Because it's just an application, just go online and apply. But the reason was that a lot of the students need to upload documents, and most of them take pictures on their phones. And so they are kind of misusing the phone camera. Instead of scanning the documents, right, they take a picture and it works because we actually grade those. So if we actually had an app that can access your camera, you can just take all the pictures and upload them easily. So that was the idea. This was one of the reasons why I wanted to do this. But this was a nice to have because it would take time to actually develop an application and roll out admissions again. So then it was dropped. And then, we thought of gamifying the whole admissions process. So people thought also, why don't they just play a game? And then we take out all those people who don't make it through the game. So the game, actually we had ideas that there are games like that test drive and decision-making skills and leadership skills, right? And so as you play the game, if you don't make it, then you're automatically out. You don't continue. That way it cuts down the load for those who are behind. Because if over 10,000 students are applying to the same school and they all actually finished their application, who's going to read through all the essays? So the game thing was actually cool. But we realized here again that the kind of games we were looking at could only favor boys. And so boys would play and would do well, and the school would be dominated by boys. And so, well, it's still under research, but it was dropped too. Then we thought that we could use a resume to make things very simple. So so the school designed their own form of resume that takes in data about yourself as well as your leadership encounters, like the things you've done to create change. But because a resume is a one-page thing, a CV, it's a one-page thing, it's very easy for the person grading to just go through and say that, okay, this person did it. And you can't really lie on a CV. Okay, you can, but it's not done. So we thought that a CV would be good. And this was picked because it was convenient. So this would actually give the user value as they finish the admission process, because then at the end of the admission process, they know how to make CVs and they can take it anywhere, even if they're not selected. Then we thought that would incorporate the 7 meta skills because it was a big thing we realized. And the 7 meta skills was going to use the 7 grand challenges of Africa to help people think through a creative story and see how they would solve a problem anywhere on the continent. And the 7 grand challenges include education, transportation, those things that we really battle with in Africa. And this is something Fred Swanica, as the founder of ALU, is something he's been talking about. And so it was very good to just incorporate what the school is about with the students, to introduce what the school is about to the students at the admission stage. That way, if you are really someone who wants to lead change, you would want to come because you can relate to all the things you did in the activities whilst you were applying. And so then this stayed. We thought that we could send SMSs instead of emails because the students were not reading the emails. we knew that we needed to enhance the website because if the application process is going to be accessed on a website, then all answers have to be there so that they don't ask too many questions. We also thought that we needed a new admissions handbook that hadn't been created before, but then a book that would answer the frequently asked questions and would teach you how to actually go through the process seamlessly. And then we thought that we needed chat boxes or chat bots as well. Yeah, but this was also dropped because it was technology that had to be designed. Yeah, and we didn't have much time. So in the end, we had a streamlined process of just 5 stages. You just start by choosing your campus and your degree, what you want to do. And then you go to put in your personal details in the CV format. And you can do all of this in a day and maybe polish it up. And then you upload your academic transcripts. Then you do your storytelling. We thought that it was fun to do the storytelling with the 7 grand challenges without you feeling that you're actually doing so much work. And so then we added that. And then after that, if you are not from a country that speaks English, you take English proficiency test. Yeah, because it's an international school, so they need to make sure that everybody kind of understands. If you don't, you take an English class before school starts. Wow, how come this became black? I hope you can see. Yes, so the lessons learned from this experience, I realized that even though design thinking is about feeling and empathy and how you feel and how they feel and you feel like them, you also need data. Because if you're pitching to a company about change, you need to tell them that these are the numbers. And hopefully when we do this, the numbers will turn around and you'd have this kind of percentage. Yeah. And I also learned that they are nice to haves. They are nice to haves, yeah, in quote. In the sense that when you're ideating, you have to be careful not to be emotionally attached to your ideas. Because you're ideating, it can be very huge sometimes. And sometimes it will just run down the company if you push for it. So it's important to make sure that you know what are needs and what is just nice to have. And then the final thing I learned is that design usually stirs up ambiguity, but don't drop the ball. In your design thinking process, you can be going around and around and around, and you don't have an idea what you're doing because so many problems are springing up, and you don't know where you're going. But it's really good to keep on track, keep going, and keep defining, keep going and keep defining iteratively. Yeah, and then you're done. Thank you very much.